Ascot. Do you know what I'm talking about? The races.
Yes.
Yeah, Royal Ascot.
Fancy,
big race meeting in England, but also, of course, we have huge race meetings in Ireland because horses are, of course, are part of our lifestyle here. And there's a man, an Irish man. He's probably the best known hat maker in the world. His name is Philip Tracy. He designed all of the hats for the, not for the Queen now, but for Camilla when she got married. Do you remember the hat with the feathers sticking out at the top? Yes. And the one that's probably known best of all, which was hideous, was the one that Princess Beatrix wore to that wedding. Remember that one?
Yes.
Yeah, but all these elaborate hats. Anyway, he had an exhibition of his hats in a museum a little further up here on the left-hand side. Oh, about 6 years ago. I remember going to it. It was amazing. It was really amazing. Now, on the left, there's a small little park here, and in that park, there's a lady lying, reclining in water. And she is meant to represent the River Liffey, which is the river we're running alongside. She was given by a very well-to-do family to the city of Dublin. So you'd see her lying in here on the left-hand side. Now, she wasn't always in there. She was in the main street of the city, which we'll be coming to shortly. But you see there, and there are jets that go up there. But when she was in the main street of the city, all the locals used to come down and they'd pour washing up liquid into her. And of course then you'd have all these bubbles flying around the place. So she became known locally as the floozy in the jacuzzi. Now she's there lying in state. So this was an old barracks in here on the left, a military barracks, and then that's now a museum. That's where the hat exhibition was about 6 years ago. It was fabulous. See Guinnesses, you can see it there clearly, Guinnesses. And you know, Guinness, when you go to the museum, you learn how to draw a pint because there's a certain knack of doing that. Otherwise, it doesn't taste the same if you don't pour it in the correct way. And we also have another distillery, which is down here on the left-hand side, the Jameson Distillery. Whiskey, of course, has been made in Ireland since the 5th century, believe it or not, and it's called in the Gaelic language Uisce Beatha. Uisce Beatha. That translates into English as the water of life. Uisce Beatha. If you wanted to say in the Gaelic language, I would like some water, please, you'd say Bo Wailum Uisce Beatha Moshe the Holly. Uisce Beatha. Remember those Uisce Beatha, Uisce Beatha.
Water of life, Uisce Beatha.
So water is Ishka or water is Baha?
Ishka is the water.
Yeah, but which word is water?
Ishka. 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 Well, if you wanted to buy just water, you'd say Bo Wailum Ishka. But when it's Uisce Beatha, it's whiskey.
Oh, Jameson makes whiskey. Guinness makes beer.
No, we won't be passing those, not on this one. No. On the building on the left now is a courthouse, 4 courts. The question I was asked back there is, do we pass the statues from the famine? We don't actually, because they're on the other side of the quays, on the other side of the river. And they're on this side of the river, but way further down. We're going round to the left. If any of you wanted to see them, this is a piece of artwork or sculpture depicting people that would have been leaving to go on a ship that would take them to safety, hopefully, across the Atlantic Ocean, across to the United States. And these people, they're carrying their meagre possessions with them. They look totally emaciated, and of course that would have been as a result of starvation in the potato famine, which happened in the 1800s, 1845, 46 and 47. Now, I'll talk about the potato famine at another time. We won't talk about it right now while we're doing the city tour, but if you're wondering what that question was about, it's about a group of figures that were meant to represent people that were leaving Ireland to make their way across on the boat to the United States. No, well, it's, you know, when you finish the tour, it's closer for you to come back and walk back over the river. I'll show you now when we get to the top of the street where it is, and you could do that if you wanted to when we finish the tour.
Oh, look, they have a park and ride for the bikes here. It looks like, I would say.
Oh yeah, they were all over the place. That's the bikes we were saying. Bike rentals.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we could get on bikes and bike around.
No, they call these streets along the river quays. So all these streets along the river quays. Remember, Singapore, they were all quays too.
Oh yeah.
How do you feel about Apple
Yeah.
tax?
Feel about which?
Apple tax. The famous latest thing.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that question. What do I feel about Apple?
$16 billion, you know, that the EU wants Apple to pay.
Oh God,
Pay taxes, which, you know, an agreement was with some.
oh, I haven't a clue. I know nothing about that. Don't know anything about that. I'm not computer literate at all myself anyway. I know what you're talking about, yes. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Listen, I want to show you here on the right. This is one of the very older bridges. This used to be a toll bridge that you would have to pay to cross to go from one side of the river to the other. So it's called the Penny Halfpenny Bridge. So you paid 1 penny and a half a penny. So Penny Halfpenny Bridge to cross on that at one time. Now, as we come down along here, we are going to come down onto what is the main street of the city, but it is not the heart of the city. It is the main street, but it's not the heart of the city. The heart of the city, I always say, is up around Grafton Street, up around College Green, that area. This main street is a big, big wide street, and it was originally a residential square. But as time went on, what you see today is, you know, the way it changed over many centuries. So big wide street called O'Connell Street. It's called O'Connell Street with lots of O's in this country. O'Connell is one. O'Connell Street because it was called after this man whose statue you see at the very top of it, Daniel O'Connell. He became a politician. He represented the native Irish in Westminster in England, the Parliament in England. And he was trying to get our land back, the land that had been confiscated from us by various British kings and queens. However, he was alive during the potato famine, and because of the great tragedy that was unfolding, all of his dreams really fell away because of the great tragedy that was unfolding with the potato famine. This is it. Now, this is the main street of the city of Dublin, our capital city. Lots of different statues of different people who represented different periods and different things. Some of them politicians, some of the man that you see with his arms outstretched, the leader of the trade union movement in Ireland. And then the spire was put there for the millennium. I don't know what you think of the spire. There was a competition, that's the one that won it. And this, of course, would be in terms of history. This street was very important because the last rising that we had in Ireland was in the year 1916.
Yeah.
And in that rising there were all of these young men that were involved in it. They wanted to get rid of the British out of Ireland, and they had this skirmish. That's the only way I can describe it. The rising of 1916. These young men were captured by the British, and they were taken from here, from the building that's coming up on the left hand side, the General Post Office. They were taken to a jail called Kilmainham Jail, where they were all executed, with two exceptions. One because of his passport, and the other one because it was a female. So they were executed. When they were executed, of course, the tide turned against the British. and we had so many people, especially in the United States, that were putting pressure on the British to get out. And after that, of course, the negotiations started. It wasn't as straightforward as it might have seemed, but they started, and they started to talk, and eventually this island, although it was divided, because there are 6 counties of this island that belong to the United Kingdom, which are up in the area we call Northern Ireland, but the rest, in total we have 32 counties. 6 of them are in England, part of the United Kingdom, and the 26 counties became known as the Free State at that time, and then latterly became known as the Republic of Ireland, which is what we're in right now.
When did that happen?
In the 20s, maybe?
1920.
The uprising was 1960. Supposedly, you could see bullet potholes still on post office. Oh, really? There's just
These people are waiting for
monument after
their
monument.
tour bus. Look at this.
You know what? That's the second casino I've seen. There's a casino.
They have left luggage and internet there too. That's a personal place.
Oh.
You leave your luggage there.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
You don't think so?
She ever make it to England? Oh, that's Parnell.
This tram really is. It's just one piece. That's a curve. That's all they put there. One piece of tram.
This is another hospital here on the right hand side. This is a maternity hospital also. Now you can see the disruption we have here with all this construction going on. This is for the new tram system, the new extension of the tram system, which will be fantastic when it's completed, but at the moment it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it is.
Now folks, when we get up to Trinity College, just so that you all understand this very clearly, when we get up to Trinity College, we will be on a street called Nassau. N-A-S-S-E-A-U. Take a note of that, Nassau Street. We will be on Nassau Street. And we're allowed to drop there. Coach is not allowed to stay there. He's allowed to drop there, and he's allowed to pick up there. So when we drop there, I will ask you to accompany me. We will be walking into Trinity College. Trinity College is a self-guided tour. So I will be bringing you in, getting your tickets, so you might have to stay in line for 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes. It just depends on the volume of people. So when I get you in, I disappear. You're on your own, and you will be going into the exhibition area where you will see the Book of Kells, and also you will end up going into the old library, which the home of over 200,000 books. And then eventually you come through and you come back down in through the inevitable shop, and the way you walk in is the way that you walk back out again. The way you walk in is the way you walk back out again, and will take you back out onto Nassau Street, which is where there will be a pickup, and I'll give you the time of that for any of you that want it. I'll give you the time when we have completed the tour. I just want to show you here on the right hand side now, you have a little garden in here. It's known as the Garden of Remembrance. The Garden of Remembrance. And this is a garden that the people that we're remembering are the people that lost their lives during different risings throughout the centuries, that gave their lives for Irish freedom. And of course we have Irish freedom now, it's, only since 1922, so it's wonderful. So any presidents that come here, dignitaries that come here, this is where they would go, and they would place a wreath at the top of the little garden that you see in here.
Irish writers.
When President Barack Obama came here, he placed a wreath. When the Queen of England came here, she placed a wreath. Queen of England came just about a week, same week as she came first, and President Barack Obama came about a week later. So they both came to the Garden of Remembrance. So we're coming back down now into O'Connell Street again, and making our way back round over to College Green.